the request that's being made today for me to count these 14 ballots based on their intent, well, it sounds simple enough. It's just not how election contests should work. It's the court's opinion. I dismissed count 5 for a specific reason, that was kind of an attack on some of the processes in the election manual that's been in place for several years now, at least since 2019. The preparation of the election manual is something that's done above board, and people participate in that process, and there can be complaints about the manual, and maybe there will be in the future. But it goes for the same thing for recounting these ballots, these 14 ballots. That would be outside the processes that were put in place by the people that created these procedures. What you are asking is, again, something I can't go back and rewrite the manuals, nor would I say they need to be rewritten. This is a difficult process. Doing an election is a difficult process, even in a small county like Mojave County. It's a difficult process. It's not a perfect process. It's an imperfect, but what you saw, and I think you saw this, Mr. Lasota, from the reaction while they fought some of your accusations, and sometimes it gets a little personal, but what you saw is when the reaction to them is get these information to you. I heard through the motions to dismiss and through this that this was an ongoing process to get information to you. You didn't get it as much information as you wanted, but there is information given to you about specifically count 1. You addressed it just now. I think count 2 was addressed in one of the motions to dismiss, where most of those ballots were people that registered after October 3rd and were not allowed to vote. Those are all things that have occurred because there's been some response by the county, Maricopa County specifically, to this process and to try to talk to you about it and give you information about it. This court has had to make rough decisions regarding the extent of discovery, and I ruled that based on this contested election and the process, it's very difficult to have a standard civil discovery process that we'd all go through. I don't know. I know all the lawyers know this, but normally if we have a civil trial, it gets filed in December of 2022, and it gets tried in January of 2025. That's how civil cases generally process through the system. This cannot be processed that way and has not been processed that way. The court granted your petition to inspect ballots. You conceded today that you got to inspect many more ballots than were inspected even in the other cases process, and I think that's a good thing. I'm glad that was able to happen. And again, Mr. LaRue was saying 24 hours ago that they couldn't even do that, and yet they did it. They got that done, and that's, again, a process to the response to the court's orders and to the requests here. What has ended up happening, however, is you just haven't proven the elements of the case as we review the record. There hasn't been proof that there's been mistakes made either. There's no allegation again. And I really compliment the plaintiffs in that regard, and I think I've done that before, both in writing and on the record. This isn't one of these cases alleging political coercion, isn't alleging incompetence or anything like that. It's just saying some mistakes were made based on some of these processes, and that some votes may or may not have been counted. This hasn't been the type of case that sometimes comes before the court on these kind of procedures. The bottom line is you just haven't proven your case. You haven't met the burden. The mistakes that may have been made were not enough to overcome the presumption the court has to have in election cases. This is a contesting of an election that was done in early November, and it just doesn't overcome the presumption that the election was done correctly. There isn't enough information. I wouldn't even think there's even slight information that something was done illegally or incorrectly. They just follow the procedures, and this is the way it works out. And unfortunately, when all the ballots that I looked at would, for the most part, these 14 ballots would be voter error, not filling them out the way the instructions say. That could have fixed these problems, these minor problems that I saw in these particular ballots that counted votes against Mr. Hamadeh didn't get and Ms. Mays didn't get. those are, if you look at those, there's mostly just people just not following instructions. And then there's the attempts, that the evidence is there's been attempts to correct when people don't vote right, to try to get people vote correctly. And there's been no evidence that that's been swayed one way or the other for Hamadeh or Mays. It's been the Maricopa County doing their job. And obviously we didn't get enough information, or maybe didn't get to dig deep enough. We found no information from Navajo County or Pima County that this court could even consider was done incorrectly. It is ordered finding that this petition is unsuccessful. It's ordered denying the petition to change the results of the election or even count any additional votes. The recount is underway, and that will be determined next week in court somewhere else. Obviously, based on some of the comments, I'm going to be seeing some future pleadings in this case, but I just want to address, if you need a written order, Mr. Lasota, I can probably get one of those out by sometime. I'll probably have to work Monday to do that, but I probably could get something out by Monday afternoon if you wanted a written order. But I am denying the petition and granting in favor of the defendants today, and not ordering that the election be recounted or any ballots be recounted based on the evidence that's been presented in this court.